It began with a dream of a new world, a land of untold riches, freedom, and a fresh start across the endless sea. But what happened next would become one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. 115 men, women, and children vanished without a trace. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just a single word carved into a tree: CROATOAN. Was it betrayal? Was it survival? Was it something more sinister? This is the disappearance of the Roanoke colony, America's oldest and eeriest mystery. Imagine staring out across the Atlantic, the salty breeze of the English coast on your face as a wooden ship creaks and groans beneath your feet. Behind you, a kingdom hungry for glory. Ahead, an unknown world of promise and peril. This was the reality of the 16th century. This was the dawn of empire. The year is 1584. Queen Elizabeth I rules England with a sharp mind and an iron will. Her country is flourishing, but ambition knows no rest. The mighty Spanish Empire dominates the seas and the New World alike, plundering gold and silver from the Americas with ruthless efficiency. But England wants in. Enter Sir Walter Raleigh. Dashing, clever, and endlessly ambitious, Raleigh becomes the chosen man to claim a slice of the New World. He is granted a charter, by royal hand, to establish a colony in North America. If successful, it would be England's first permanent foothold in the Western Hemisphere. The prize, resources, trade routes, power. And so the dream begins. Raleigh dispatches 2 ships on a reconnaissance mission across the Atlantic. They land on the outer banks of what is now North Carolina and discover an island, Roanoke. Covered in dense forest and surrounded by brackish waters, it seems both strange and promising. But Roanoke is not empty. The English explorers encounter the CROATOAN and CROATOAN tribes, native peoples with rich traditions, complex societies, and an uneasy curiosity about these pale-skinned newcomers. Early relations are tentative but respectful. The English report back with tales of fertile soil and favorable climate. Raleigh is thrilled. This will be the site of his colonial experiment. But as history shows us, first attempts are rarely smooth. In 1585, Raleigh funds his first full-scale colony. 100 English men set sail and build a fort on Roanoke Island. Among them is artist John White, who documents the land and the people in detailed sketches. His watercolors are some of the earliest visual records of America's native inhabitants. The colony struggles from the start. Supplies dwindle, tensions rise. The English, unfamiliar with the harsh environment, grow increasingly dependent on the local tribes, and in some cases hostile. Misunderstandings erupt into violence. The fragile trust with the native peoples fractures. By the end of the year, the colony teeters on collapse. When Sir Francis Drake arrives in 1586 with a fleet, the colonists beg to leave. Drake obliges. The first attempt at Roanoke ends in retreat. But Raleigh is not deterred. He sees this failure not as the end, but as a lesson. The next expedition will be more carefully planned, more deeply rooted, and most importantly, include families. And so in 1587, a new group of 115 men, women, and children sets sail for Roanoke. This time, it's not just an expedition, it's a vision of permanence. The leader, John White, now appointed governor of the colony. He brings with him his daughter, Eleanor, and her husband, Ananias Dare. With them is a future symbol of hope. Eleanor is pregnant. The voyage is rough. Storms batter the ships. Morale wanes. But eventually they make landfall once again on the wild and whispering shores of Roanoke Island. The scene they encounter is unsettling. The previous fort is overgrown. The land seems colder, quieter. A silence hangs over the place as though something has shifted in the air. Still, they rebuild. As the settlers unpack their dreams onto the forested shores, Eleanor Dare gives birth to a baby girl, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. For a moment, hope blooms, a child, a symbol, a future. But the cracks begin to show almost immediately. The settlers discover that relations with the native tribes have deteriorated further. Trade is sparse. Tensions simmer beneath the surface. The land is not yielding as they hoped. The promise of abundance gives way to the reality of hunger. The settlers plead with John White, return to England, bring back supplies, bring back help. He does not want to leave, his daughter, his granddaughter, his people, but he has no choice. In late 1587, John White sets sail for England. He vows to return quickly with everything the colony needs to thrive. He would never see any of them again. And with that, the curtain begins to fall on one of the greatest enigmas of American history. The wind was at their backs, the sails heavy with hope. 115 souls crossed an unforgiving ocean, chasing a dream, a foothold in the New World. But on the shores of Roanoke, the dream was about to turn into something else entirely, something they could never have imagined. In the summer of 1587, the second English colony arrives on Roanoke Island. This time, they are not just soldiers or explorers. These are families, men, women, children, ordinary people with extraordinary courage. They are farmers, artisans, tradesmen, each one hand-picked to build a life in a land that still breathes mystery. Their leader, John White, returns to familiar ground, but something is off. The remains of the first colony are scattered, half swallowed by the wilderness. The fort lies in ruins. The earth is quiet, too quiet. The surrounding forest feels different, less like a sanctuary and more like a secret, watching them from between the trees. Still, they unpack, they rebuild, they work the land with trembling hands and hopeful hearts. Then, on August 18, 1587, a moment of joy pierces the uncertainty. Eleanor Dare gives birth to a daughter, Virginia, the first English child born in the New World. It should have been a celebration. And it was briefly. But food is scarce, the soil is reluctant, the neighboring tribes are no longer friendly. Years of conflict, misunderstanding, and fear have poisoned the relationship. Trade is difficult, hunting yields little, tempers rise, rumors swirl, whispers of attacks, ambushes in the woods, shadows where no man should be. The colonists look to John White. He knows what must be done. He has to return to England. They need tools, seeds, weapons, ships. They need more than what they have, and time is running out. Eleanor begs him not to go. Her voice trembles as she hands him her infant daughter. He promises he will come back. He will return before the winter. But fate, as always, has other plans. As White sails away, the Roanoke settlers watch their last connection to England disappear over the horizon. Behind them, an untamed wilderness. Before them, a long and uncertain wait. Days pass, then weeks, then months. They build a palisade. They ration food. They begin to rely more on the land, on the native peoples around them, if any are still willing to help. But we know almost nothing of what happened next. No letters survive, no journals, no maps. The voices of the settlers fall silent, swallowed by time. Across the sea, John White finds his return blocked by a nation at war. The year is now 1588 and the Spanish Armada is advancing. England must defend itself. Every ship is conscripted for war. Ports are closed. Resources are diverted. White is stuck in London as his colony and his family wait on the edge of survival. A year passes, then another. White begs, pleads, schemes for a vessel to carry him back. Each time he is denied. Storms, pirates, politics, everything conspires to keep him away. Finally, in 1590, 3 long years later, he secures passage and returns to Roanoke. What he finds is not what he expects. The beach is empty. No voices call out, no banners fly, no smoke rises from hearth or flame. The settlement is gone. The house is dismantled, the fort abandoned. No sounds, no footprints, no bones. It's as if the colony had vanished into thin air. But then he sees it. One word carved into a wooden post. One word that has haunted historians for over 4 centuries. CROATOAN. Another set of letters, CRO, etched hastily into a nearby tree. There are no signs of struggle, no blood, no graves, no burnt wood. Just this eerie message left in silence, carved into the bones of the colony itself. White remembers his instructions. If the colonists were forced to relocate, they were to leave a message. And if it was under duress, they would carve a cross above it. There is no cross. So did they leave willingly? Did they go to CROATOAN Island, now known as Hatteras, where the friendly CROATOAN tribe lived? He wants to find out, he wants to search, but fate is cruel. A storm rolls in. The crew panics, supplies run low. White is forced once again to retreat. He never sets foot on CROATOAN Island. He never finds the settlers. He never sees his daughter or granddaughter again. And with that, the last known chapter in the lives of the Roanoke colonists closes, not with an answer, but with a question. A question whispered across centuries. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? There are disappearances, and then there is Roanoke, a colony gone without a trace. No bodies, no smoke, no final cries echoing into the forest. Only silence and a single word etched into wood like a whisper from the past, CROATOAN. When John White returned to Roanoke in 1590, 3 years after he left, he expected to find hardship, but life. He found nothing. The colony was dismantled, not destroyed. No signs of war, no signs of plague or famine, just empty structures and crude carvings. It was not a massacre, it was something else. He begged his sailors to take him to CROATOAN Island, now believed to be Hatteras Island, where the nearby friendly tribe once lived. He was convinced the settlers had gone there. But fate once again intervened. A massive storm loomed. Supplies were dwindling. The crew, desperate to return to England, refused to wait. They turned back, leaving Roanoke behind, forever wrapped in shadows. And so John White sailed away, never knowing what happened to his family. To Eleanor, to Virginia Dare, to the 115 souls who once dared to begin again in the New World. In the centuries that followed, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony became more than a mystery. It became a ghost story, a riddle etched into the American landscape. Historians, archaeologists, treasure hunters, all have tried to answer the same haunting question. Where did they go? Some believe the colonists integrated with nearby native tribes, particularly the CROATOAN, with whom they may have had peaceful relations. Oral traditions from native communities in the region hint at pale-skinned ancestors and the sudden appearance of English clothing and tools. Was it survival or surrender? Could they have chosen to leave their English identity behind to escape starvation and exposure? Others point to darker possibilities. Could they have tried to sail north, or even back to England, only to be swallowed by the sea? Or perhaps they fell victim to rival tribes who saw them as a threat or a burden. One theory suggests the Spanish, still hostile to English expansion, might have discovered and destroyed the colony in secret, leaving no trace behind. But where is the evidence? No graves, no ruins, no diaries, no journals, no final words. Just a wooden carving, a name, CROATOAN. That single word has sparked endless speculation. Edgar Allan Poe, in his final fevered moments before death, is said to have muttered, CROATOAN. The same word was found scrawled in Amelia Earhart's journal before her disappearance, though many dispute the claim. It appears in horror fiction, mystery novels, and even modern television. It has become a symbol, a ghostly refrain for that which cannot be explained. But what if the answer lies not in the silence of the past, but in the ground beneath our feet? In the 1990s and early 2000s, archaeologists began to uncover clues near Hatteras Island. Tools, weapons, even pieces of English pottery buried beneath native settlements. Could this be evidence that the colonists really did survive and blend into the local population? Could this be the ending John White never found? And yet, even this theory leaves gaps. Why didn't they leave a clearer message? Why wasn't more found? And how did so many people simply vanish without a single recorded witness? The mystery lingers, like the mist rolling in from the Atlantic, like the ancient trees standing tall over an island that has forgotten their names. Something happened here, something no one expected, something no one understands. And in that unknowing, Roanoke remains one of the oldest, most enduring enigmas in American history. Centuries have passed, trees have grown thick where the colony once stood, storms have reshaped the coast, time has buried the secrets of Roanoke deep beneath layers of soil and silence, but history refuses to let go of the mystery, and some believe the land is still whispering. The hunt for answers never truly stopped. In the 20th century, as America modernized and its fascination with historical mysteries intensified, a renewed surge of interest ignited around Roanoke. Scholars, archaeologists, even amateur sleuths began combing through records and ruins, piecing together what fragments remained. One of the most intriguing clues surfaced in an unlikely place, a piece of stone. In 1937, A farmer in North Carolina claimed to have found a carved stone near the Chowan River. It bore an eerie message, apparently written by a leaner dare, John White's daughter. The inscription told of disease, of death, of betrayal, and finally of escape inland. More stones were discovered, scattered across Georgia and the Carolinas. Together, they told a tragic tale, how the colonists attacked and hunted, fled westward, how only 7 survived. If true, these dare stones would rewrite everything. But there was a problem: too many stones, too many details, too much drama. Most historians now agree the majority of them were hoaxes, an elaborate deception fueled by media frenzy and a desire for fame. But the first stone, the original, some experts still believe it just might be real. Then came the diggers. In the early 2000s, archaeologists turned their focus to Hatteras Island, what was once known as CROATOAN. There, buried in the sand and pine roots, they found traces of something unexpected. English artifacts: a sword hilt, pieces of armor, a writing tablet, shards of pottery, clearly Elizabethan in design. These weren't Spanish, these weren't trade items, they were English, and they were old. Could this be the proof long sought? Had the colonists really survived and merged with the CROATOAN people? But once again, the evidence was incomplete. There were no mass graves, no English-style homes, just fragments, hints, echoes. Not enough to solve the mystery, but too much to ignore. And then came something even more astonishing, a clue that had been hiding in plain sight. In 2012, researchers at the British Museum re-examined one of John White's original maps of the region, created during his first voyage. The map, called La Virginia Pars, showed the coastline of North Carolina in exquisite detail. But hidden beneath a patch of paper was a faint symbol, a fort marked inland some 50 miles from Roanoke. John White had once written in his journals that if the colonists relocated, they might move 50 miles into the Maine. Was this the destination? Was this where they went? Excavations began in a place called Site X, near the town of Salmon Creek, North Carolina. There, more artifacts emerged: Tudor-era nails, a rapier blade, pieces of European ceramics. Again suggestive, again inconclusive. Like breadcrumbs scattered through a forest. Always close, never enough. History is a puzzle, a story half-written, and where there are gaps, the imagination takes root. Over the years, countless theories have emerged about the fate of the lost colony, some plausible, some chilling. One of the leading theories is integration. The idea that the Roanoke settlers, cut off from England and faced with starvation, joined the CROATOAN or other native tribes to survive. Oral traditions passed down through the Lumbee and Hatteras peoples speak of ancestors with gray eyes, strange tools, and European blood. Some Native Americans in the region were found, decades later, speaking broken English. Others lived in longhouses with oddly English structures. Could these be echoes of Roanoke? The theory is compelling. It speaks of resilience, of humans adapting to the land rather than conquering it. But not everyone agrees. Another theory paints a far darker picture: that the colonists tried to journey inland and perished. Disease, starvation, or native hostility could have wiped them out in days. Without supplies and allies, they may have been doomed from the start. There are legends among some tribes of a massacre, of English settlers killed in retaliation for past transgressions. If true, their remains could lie unmarked, lost to the forest. Or perhaps something stranger. Some believe the settlers encountered something unnatural. Roanoke is steeped in supernatural lore. Ghost stories abound, phantoms wandering the woods, mysterious lights flickering through the trees, voices whispering from the swamps. In some native legends, Roanoke Island was cursed, a place where spirits walked, where the veil between worlds was thin. Could the colonists have encountered something they couldn't explain, something not of this world? Tales persist of the Wendigo, the skinwalker, the forest spirits that feed on fear, of rituals and old gods and ancient warnings ignored. It's unlikely, yes, but it's a part of the legend now. And legends, once born, rarely die. Then there are political theories. That England never truly wanted Roanoke to succeed. That Raleigh's mission was more about staking a claim than building a home. That when the colony vanished, they simply looked away. In the end, Jamestown would be founded 2 decades later. A new beginning, a new myth. And Roanoke was left behind a footnote, a ghost. But even today, Roanoke refuses to be forgotten. Schools bear its name, towns remember, documentaries are made, and every few years someone finds something, an artifact, a rumor, a new stone reigniting the fire. The ocean that once carried them to the New World still laps against Roanoke's shores. The forest still murmurs in the Carolina wind. And somewhere in the soil, in the trees, in the silence, the colonists wait. They were not heroes, they were not villains. They were dreamers, survivors, people who placed their trust in the unknown and paid the price. Eleanor Dare, Ananias, Virginia. Their names are carved into the DNA of America's origin story. And still, we don't know what became of them. Perhaps we never will. Perhaps that is the power of the Roanoke mystery, not in the answer, but in the asking, in the pursuit of a truth that lives not just in bones and relics, but in imagination. In every whisper through the pines, in every storm that rolls in from the sea, in every child who hears the story and wonders what happened here. What really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? They came seeking a new world. What they found was something else. And somewhere they are still out there, lost waiting,